9 o'clock, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, our meeting has been called to order. First item of business, the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item of business is the approval of the previous minutes.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes. There was a correction made, but it's been taken care of, so.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item of business is public comment. If we have any public comment, I know Ted is on the list, but I don't see him online yet, so it might be at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
I don't see anybody else for public comment.
Did everybody get Ted's,
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
So, next item of business is the COVID-19 update from Public Health.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
John?
Couple of things to update you on today. A few of you have asked questions about new cases and whether new cases are slowing down, and that is definitely the case. The number of new cases over the last month or more seems to have been really reduced, which is encouraging. We talked lots about the holidays and definitely saw a dramatic spike in the number of cases in the wake of Thanksgiving, but really didn't see that same type of dramatic increase after Christmas and New Year's. We started vaccinating the week between Christmas and New Year's and have been busy doing so ever since. At this point, I think it's hard to say that our vaccination efforts are directly responsible for a decline in cases. It's just really hard to say. I know I've mentioned before, I'm not an epidemiologist, but it's definitely data that we are looking at and that the state is looking at. And if nothing else, I'd say that the trend line is moving in the right direction. That coupled with the fact that our numbers of people immunized is going up are both encouraging signs that, we hopefully sometime soon will see the end of the COVID-19 crisis here. To that point, in February, there were 110 new cases, and that in comparison to over 450 new cases in both November and December in Houston County. Across the state, we're seeing similar declines in the number of cases, so that's encouraging. The one thing I'd note is that I think everybody is still kind of watching the impact of a variety of different variants to COVID-19 that have been emerging. And that's a common thing with viruses. And so we're watching those to see both if they are more contagious, if they have greater, I don't know, if it increases the severity of disease, likelihood of death, those kinds of things. So anyway, that's some update on the numbers. As far as vaccination, last week the governor announced that the state will be moving to the 1B priority group after we, as a state, have reached the 70% threshold for 65 and older. Essentially, as of yesterday, the state was at 53% of individuals 65 and older. In Houston County, we're at 68% vaccination of those 65 and older. And 25% of our population has had at least one dose. We continue to have pretty big vaccination events. Again, very grateful to the Four Seasons Event Center in Caledonia. They've been very accommodating. It has proved to be a good spot for us to be able to vaccinate large groups of people. Over the last couple of weeks, we've gotten less vaccine, and I think that's directly attributable to the fact that we kind of raced out into the lead. And from a state perspective, they want to see other counties that are making the same kind of progress. And so that's resulted in less vaccine being shipped to us. That said, it's important for people to know that if they've received a vaccine from us, we automatically get the second dose that they are required to get. It's automatically shipped to us, and we schedule that after they've reached the time period that is necessary to wait in between the two shots. A little bit about Johnson & Johnson. You maybe have heard that the new Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine was approved for emergency use recently. It is, as I said, a single dose. There are some things that are attractive about it. Obviously, one shot as opposed to two. Also, from a public health perspective, it requires just regular refrigeration rather than deep freeze or ultra cold freezing for storage. It's been shown to be approved for or effective in preventing COVID-19 and highly effective in preventing serious disease and death due to COVID-19, as well as the emerging variants. Houston County Public Health is, there's potential that we'll see our first shipment of Johnson & Johnson as early as this week. So we're trying to kind of sort some of that out. It's not finalized at this point, but I would anticipate within the next week or so, we'll be beginning to administer Johnson & Johnson as well as the Moderna that we have been doing. Initially for purposes of keeping those two vaccines and lot numbers and all of those things distinct, we'll probably be vaccinating with Moderna and Johnson & Johnson on separate days. One of the things as we move into a time now where there's a potential we're going to be administering two different kinds of vaccines, the messaging around it gets more complicated. Should you have one over the other? Which one is better? The information I just gave you is, similar to what we've seen with the other vaccines. They're approved for emergency use. They're different, but both effective, or all three effective. Our recommendation is just like we have made to people who say, well, should we get on the Houston County list? Should we get on the Gunderson list? Should we get on the Veteran Service list? Our recommendation is that you should get on any list available and that you should accept any vaccine that you're offered. Because, even as we move to the 1B priority group and into the larger population, it could be some time before somebody without certain underlying conditions or specific kinds of jobs, it could be some time before they're offered a vaccine. So our recommendation is any vaccine that you're offered, you should take it. So that's kind of what I have for you today. I don't know, do you have any questions on those things?
Well, after so much time, should a guy redo it or what? I've been on Houston County for 3 weeks on their list and Gunderson for a month. And I haven't gotten a call from nobody. So do you maybe go back in and redo it again, or what does a person do?
As it relates to the list for Houston County, do not redo it. That just complicates it for us. That just is an indication that, we try to prioritize people based on the current priorities being, if you're in the 1A priority group, 65 and older, if you work in K-12 education or childcare, those are the groups that we're currently vaccinating. If you don't fit into one of those groups, it still makes sense to get on our list. It just may take a while before we get to you. But as it relates to Gunderson, I'm not sure exactly how their list works. You may want to reach out to them. But for us, the JOT form and the information that we've asked people to do in kind of a pre-registration, don't do it more than once, because that complicates our appointment making system.
Well, I'm 65 and I got MS and I've had a heart attack, so I was just wondering if that qualifies.
Commissioner, it isn't a matter of us deciding what qualifies. It's a matter of, the vaccine that we have. And I would have to look into how, where we're at with that. It's what we do is we've got a list. It's based on those priority groups. And once you're in a certain priority group, it's based on when you got your form in. So I know also the last 2 weeks, we've done very little first doses because they just haven't been shipped to us. We've done second doses, but as I mentioned earlier, they haven't shipped us additional doses because we were kind of far ahead in the percentage of people who we have vaccinated. And so that could be contributing to it as well.
So go ahead, Bob.
You go first.
So, John, is that the states guiding that as far as we're doing so well in vaccinating, so they feel they need to pull back and let other counties catch up? Is that a state run? I mean, is MDH controlling that, or what?
MDH controls what they ship to us. And I think that what it is they want to make sure that across the state, people are receiving, relatively equitable access to the vaccine.
Well, this is just my opinion, but to me, if they see that we're doing well on efficiency of getting the vaccine, I would think they would want to keep giving us more. But
Yeah. I think that's been part of our strategy too, is we want to show the state that if they give us vaccine, we'll find arms to put it in.
yeah,
And
that should be encouraged, and I hate to say rewarded because doesn't sound right, but I mean, I don't know. I just find that odd. That's
if they give counties, this is just trying to be the devil's advocate here. If they give counties the shipments of vaccine kind of based on how much they use, if there's counties that have other extenuating circumstances that I'm not sure what they would be, but they are having some issues with getting it distributed. Say you have a loved one in one of those counties, they kind of get penalized by getting less vaccine, even though they're struggling. So I think from a statewide perspective, I can see some sense in wanting to have the state as a whole have equal access to vaccine. And if we've been successful, and we're just about at the threshold where we would be moving into 1B, I think that the state is going to want to see all of those counties, all 87 counties, at that threshold. And so that's, some of what I'm doing is speculating, but I do know that we've received no new doses in the last 2 weeks. We did get new doses for this week, but the 2 previous weeks, we have not received any new doses, just second doses.
Louis, you had a question?
Well, just a comment. It just seems like we're being penalized for doing a good job.
Yeah, I don't want to be mistaken there. I think the state appreciates what we're doing. I think we've also been creative in being able to work with partners across the river that have afforded us additional doses that other counties maybe didn't have access to. We've tried to do everything we can to get vaccine out to our population, and I think every county in the state is doing the same thing. But if you've got 87 people moving in the same direction, they're going to be making progress at different rates. And so every week they do a number of different surveys to local public health, asking questions about where we're at in certain populations. And then that is a determining factor in how they make decisions on shipment.
A question I've got, John, and this kind of relates back to Craig's question. If you sign up on the county's register, do you get a response back saying that you're on the list?
No, you don't. And that is a flaw in that job form. It's been great for us. We've got nearly 3,000 people on that list. Now, a number of them have been vaccinated, but that automated system that we put in place doesn't have the capacity to give a receipt or say that you've received it. What we've said to people is if you've clicked the button that says submit, we have it. I wish we had an army of people that could be calling people back and letting them know where they're at and all of that. I just logistically don't know how I can do that. But I can assure you that we're working through that list, and we're working based on the priority groups that MDH has given to us.
So me as a flip phone guy, I don't know when I do something like that, if I don't get a response, I don't know if I've done it right or not.
Right.
Then you're hanging there in limbo. I mean, it'd be nice if the program had an automatic receive. You hit submit.
Yeah.
It says received and you're done.
I agree. We used existing technology. We didn't make or create that program. We used existing technology because we could deploy it tomorrow. And unfortunately, it doesn't have that receiving capacity. I really wish it did too, because I think that would at least assure people that we've got their information. It's also really hard if people call lots and say, hey, can you confirm that I'm on the list? I've got to have people to answer those calls. And, instead we've got people who are administering vaccine. And I'd also remind everybody that all of the people who are involved in this response had full-time jobs before we started doing this. And so I'm proud of our public health folks who are finding ways to get other WIC-related things, maternal and child health things, state health improvement program things, home and community-based service things. All of those things are still happening. Those needs still need to be met. So it would be really difficult to be able to do phone receipts, or I'm not exactly sure how we would program something.
Now, what I'm saying, it's an IT question, not your question. As far as when you hit submit, it goes in and automatically kicks back, says received, but that's an IT question. So,
I can reach out to Andy and see if there's something that we can do with that, and then I can get back to you.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
I got poor internet out here, and I mean, sure, it said submitted, but with the internet the way it is, I really don't know if it went in or not, how it hurt. So, I mean, that would be a great thing if we could do something with that. That would be awesome.
Let me explore that. I do know that that's a weakness in the job form process that we're using, is that it doesn't give a receipt of, that confirms that we have it.
Yep. Okay.
Well, good.
The only thing I'd have a concern with is the numbers are going down and people get complacent. When you look at the 1918 pandemic, things started going down. People got complacent. It got worse the second time around. So I just hope we don't get complacent in our attitude towards COVID.
I think that that's an excellent point. And, the the recommendation from CDC and from Minnesota Department of Health is still to maintain the same guidance as far as mask usage, social distancing, frequent hand washing, stay home if you're sick, get tested if you have symptoms, all of it. And that, that's what will ensure that that combined with vaccine will help us get out of this.
So what will significantly say we're out of this? If everybody gets vaccinated, but we're still supposed to be careful with social distancing and mask wearing. I mean, what's going to constitute the time when we can say you don't have to wear a mask, you don't have to social distance?
Mm-hmm.
Is that when 100% of us are vaccinated, or what?
That's a good question that I don't have an answer to right now, but a very good question. It's, what is the threshold when we can legitimately say, COVID is in the rearview mirror? And I don't know the answer to that question. That too, I can reach out and get some information on and get back to you.
Okay.
I think that'll be something that comes from above the CDC or federal level, because we're such a transient country. We can be 100% here in Houston County, 80% in La Crosse County, and somebody comes in from Timbuktu and brings it along, but the vaccination is important, I think.
I think that's also an excellent point, Commissioner Severson. That has contributed to some of the challenges, and something that's a little different than the last pandemic in the early 1900s is we are much more mobile. And so we got to pay attention to what our neighbors are doing in other counties and other states, other countries. And so, but I will reach out about both the potential of having a receipt for our jot form pre-registration, and also, what MDH or CDC would consider. We've reached a threshold that we can say we're past COVID-19. One other thing that brings to mind is last week a question came up about when I talk about percentages of our population, whether that is a percentage of those who can be vaccinated or if it's a percentage of the whole population. That is a percentage of the whole population. I kind of agree if you're saying, our goal, I guess, would be that we'd like to get everybody vaccinated. But we would never reach 100% in any county because there's a percentage of our population that shouldn't get vaccinated, and primarily those 18 and under and things like that. So for whatever it's worth, that's the metric that they're using. It's a percentage. So when I say 25% of our population, that's 25% of 18,680 or something like that.
Right, and that's people that are vaccinated through the health system and through the county, correct?
Correct. So that's anybody in Houston County who has been vaccinated. And it isn't just what public health has vaccinated. Obviously, health providers and the pharmacy partnership with long-term care and the VA, lots of people are involved in this. We're a player. I think we're a significant player. But we aren't doing all of the vaccination.
So is it HHS is recommending that kids under 18 and under not be vaccinated? Is that right? Did I hear you?
Yeah, that's what the recommendation is now, under 18 and under.
Okay.
Greg, if you were saying something, I think you were muted.
You're right. Yeah, like Sterling, will there ever be a time that they'll be giving shots in coordinates with you guys, or how does something like that work out?
Actually, they did receive a small shipment of doses, and we are working with Sterling. So standing up some of those systems that we've used for vaccination, like for flu shots and things like that, it's starting to get put into place. But each of those organizations kind of have to stand up their own protocols and be able to staff it up. Same thing with the satellite clinics from Mayo and Gunderson. There's the potential that at some point those will be stood up, but at this point they aren't. I think our hope is that we see more of that. We would take anybody's help in being part of the vaccination effort.
Good.
Any other questions?
Well, as long as we have you on here, John.
Yeah.
On our consent agenda,
Yes.
the collections officer,
Hmm.
you stated in your emails the importance of that being filled.
Yes.
You want to add any more to that, or I mean,
I kind of outlined that in the email. I think the biggest thing is we're required by the state of Minnesota to do collections on a variety of the programs that we administer, primarily public assistance programs. And then we receive 25% of what we collect, and 75% goes to the state. Over the last several years, we've more than paid for the position with that component of it. The position is also able to pursue collections on debt that is owed to the county that we can legitimately pursue. And so the position also does that, which I think is an important thing. That would be based on, sometimes we'll provide a service and there's either a portion or all of it that the county is financially responsible for. And by law, for whatever reason, we have the ability to do collections on it. I feel that we should. And so this position also does collections on that. I've worked with 2 collection officers, and they've both done a really, really outstanding job, and both in being able to be successful in getting collections, but also doing it in a manner that people don't feel that they're being treated poorly, and do it in a fair and respectful way. When you're working with estates, and you have surviving relatives and all sorts of competing interests, it's a challenging thing. And I think that's part of why it takes a while to learn the position. There's a fair amount of training and that we receive from the state, but then also just the people skills and being able to do that. The position also provides a little bit of backup in our accounting division and gives us the ability for some additional checks and balances or separation of duties. So it's a critical part of our operation and a required part.
so we have 2?
No, we have 1.
1.
Mm-hmm. So with Deb retiring, we will not have a collections officer. That's why
Okay.
I'm replacing the position. But since we are able to have her do a few additional accounting duties, it provides us some separation of duty or checks and balances for other accounting functions within our department.
Was there somebody cross-trained for that position? So if she was out sick, for 2 weeks or a month or something, that there's somebody that fills in for that spot?
There isn't. I know the board talks often about cross-training, and it's something I take seriously. We try to kind of look at creative ways that we can have some built-in redundancy and coverage, so to speak. But true cross-training is hard to, it's hard to train somebody to do the collections work and then they never do it. And then say 2-3 years down the road, somebody's got an extended illness and we say, well, you were cross-trained. It's like starting from scratch. And I know that Heidi is aware of what's going on in there. And so if the position was out for an extended period of time, we would find a way to get it done, and it would be primarily Heidi's responsibility. We would probably also rely on our colleagues in other counties to make sure we're not missing certain things. We put together a solution, but to say that we have somebody who's cross-trained who could step in and do it, there isn't.
Okay. Thank you.
in many of our other positions where we have, I guess, greater volume where you'd need to have more than one person doing it, we try to build in redundancy so that we're not vulnerable in case somebody leaves or they're out for an extended period of time. And so, but in some places, just given our size, it's really difficult to have that redundancy.
Thank you, John.
You bet. Any other
Thanks, John.
questions on that?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
John?
So moving on, is the 9:40 video, is that set for 9:40? I mean, is it?
No, that's flexible. I just picked that time because I thought it might work, but we can do that whenever.
I mean, it's 9:32, so I didn't know if this was coming from somebody else and we had to wait till 9:40 or what. If it's available.
No, I'm going to show it, so we can do it whenever. We can do it at the end since it's me and Steve.
Well, we could do it now.
We can do it now. It's 10 minutes, yeah. Can you crank it up for us?
Sure, we can do it now.
Okay.
I didn't know if some of the others wanted to go first so they could get off the meeting, but
Well, we got a 10 o'clock closed session, so.
okay, we'll do it now.
It's a good video.
Let me know if you are unable to hear it, but we'll give it a try.
The La Crosse County facility is a 320-acre complex in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Here we are much more than garbage being compacted and buried. La Crosse County is the hub of a regional solid waste management system that serves residents, businesses, and industries in this county and in several surrounding counties in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. Our system provides reuse, resource recovery, recycling, and disposal services. The majority of our services are managed here at the La Crosse County Solid Waste Facility. Resource recovery activities are conducted at the Xcel Energy Waste Energy Facility on French Island. The services offered by our system are consistent with the state of Wisconsin's preferred waste management hierarchy. As a publicly owned, privately operated system, we are focused on managing waste locally. This full-service approach is vital to our environmental and economic sustainability. The La Crosse disposal system is a self-funded entity in that the revenue generated by the system covers its operating costs as opposed to using general tax revenues for funding. Our main entrance has been designed with ease of use and safety in mind. We have 2 scales, an inbound and outbound scales that allow traffic to flow smoothly in and out of the facility. After the scale, there are 2 options. You can either visit our processing pad, which most materials on the processing pad are diverted from the landfill in some way, or our municipal solid waste landfill, which we call the active area, which is what most people think of a landfill as. Our facility provides a special area just for citizens to unload their materials that they bring in. We have a series of containers that allow materials to be separated out from the waste stream. Items like metal, appliances, cardboard, and your standard mixed recyclables like plastic cans, bottles can all be separated and then sent to other facilities for reuse. Per regulatory requirements, clean fill, yard waste, and tires are required to be separated out from the waste stream. Our tires are sent off to a company that finds a reuse for them in playground equipment, and then our yard waste is composted. On the back side of our pad, we have one of our largest diversion materials, and those are mixed aggregates, things like concrete and blacktop. We take those materials and they are ground up and used in highway construction, road subbase, things like that. Since 2016, we have worked with a local company to support mattress recycling. In the first 4 years of the program, the department has diverted over 10,000 mattresses and box springs. This has saved an estimated 230,000 cubic feet of airspace. In 2008, the department established a shingle recycling program. Our site contractor processes the shingles for end use in either blended road subbase or combined with hot mix asphalt. Our oldest partnership is also one of our most unique. The department partners with the Xcel Energy French Island facility to process municipal solid waste or household garbage from the area into energy. Wood collected at our facility is sent over to Xcel to be combusted in conjunction with the garbage to increase the BTU values and supplement as a fuel for the system. After that process is complete, there are two products that we accept back at the landfill. One is a bottom ash, which is a heavy ash that falls down, and the other is a fly ash. A large percentage of the fly ash and bottom ash are able to be beneficially reused here at the facility.
Annually, around 75,000 tons of waste is diverted to the French Island facility. Of that, about 40,000 to 50,000 tons is converted into RDF, which is refuse-derived fuel, and used to create energy for about 10,000 homes within the system. Without Xcel French Island facility using waste to energy, without our diversion plan, our landfill would fill up 40% quicker than what it is right now.
The landfill was built in the 1970s. Since that time, technology and engineering has progressed greatly. So in 2005, the Landfill Redevelopment Committee made the decision to excavate the old, slightly less engineered facility and deposit it into the new Municipal Solid Waste Subtitle D landfill. The modern municipal solid waste landfill consists of 8 phases. Landfills are built a lot like Lego blocks, where sections of compacted garbage are stacked on top of each other to form pyramids. On the surface, it may appear that it's just garbage being placed into the ground, but because this is a highly engineered facility, we have to manage for a number of things. One of these items is the water that contacts the facility. We're required to manage any water that contacts our 320-acre complex. Water that comes into contact with garbage is considered leachate. That liquid filters down through the garbage and is collected in miles of piping. That piping is then connected to the local municipal sewer system and discharged to the wastewater treatment plant for processing.
One of the things that we were working with is leachate recirculation, and we realized how pocketed that can be, how area specific it can be. So we've tried multiple approaches to this to really make sure that when we do recirculation, when we're trying to achieve that organic stability, that we're actually impacting the entire landfill instead of just pockets.
Water that doesn't come into contact with garbage is stored in one of our numerous sedimentation basins on site. Any sediment in the water is dropped out in these basins, and that water is then discharged to the local watershed. One of the primary reasons that landfills are so highly engineered now is one of the byproducts of garbage breakdown. The anaerobic decomposition of garbage produces a byproduct called methane gas. Methane gas is highly flammable, and therefore regulatory agencies require collection and utilization or destruction. The standard practice in the industry is to flare this gas. The flare is basically an Olympic-sized torch that burns the gas at a high temperature to ensure that all components are being destroyed and not released to the atmosphere. In 2011, we decided to take this in a different direction. We partnered with Gunderson Health Systems Envision team to build a 1.8-mile pipeline directly from our facility to theirs. They take our methane gas and use it for heating, cooling, and energy production. Going back to our active area, these blocks are built by specialized equipment called compactors. The compactors compress the garbage to remove any air pockets. The garbage needs to be compressed as tightly as possible to save airspace. We want to maximize the amount of garbage that we can place in our current area. Airspace is important to landfills because it determines the life of the facility.
It's very difficult to site and build new landfills. La Crosse is fortunate that the landfill is within the city limits. It's very close to the surrounding areas where it's most needed. That has a significant impact on haulers and costs and for our communities. If we can utilize and maximize the space that this facility has to offer, then we can extend the life of the facility and also reduce the cost to our constituents that we serve.
A defining value of this facility is being good environmental stewards. And that's an ideology of the La Crosse region as a whole. We want this area to be good now. We want it to be good 10 years from now. We want it to be good 100 years from now for future generations.
As local municipalities grow, green spaces become less and less. This is a 320-acre facility that can essentially be turned into a park or a recreational area. What we're doing right now is taking the initial steps to making sure that we have a viable green space for the residents and for the community to use down the road.
Our goal is for the landfill to be a last resort. We always want to find ways for these products to be recycled or reused first. In 2003, an advisory panel came together to try and find a way to deal with the hazardous chemicals that were impacting our partnering waste-to-energy facility and the landfill. They decided to establish the Household Hazardous Materials Facility. The HHM facility accepts those chemicals from the community and finds a reuse for or properly disposes of them.
We do operate a reuse room, and basically our reuse room is where people can go in and they can pick and choose from items that others have dropped off that are still perfectly usable. It's a win-win because obviously people are able to use those materials in their home, and it also saves us on disposal costs. And lastly, it doesn't end up in the landfill or in the wastewater treatment plant where it really shouldn't be.
Without this facility, these hazardous chemicals could build up in landfills or be sent to combustion, possibly having a detrimental effect on the environment.
Hazardous materials are everywhere. Every product that we buy at some point will have to be disposed of if it's not completely used. Our mission here is to ensure those materials don't get into the environment or impact human health. It's a huge benefit to the community, and it's a huge benefit to the environment.
As the landfill grows and changes throughout its life, we want to make sure as much of the facility is an asset to the area as possible. Part of this is some of the projects that we've already put in place. This includes partnering with local organizations to build a boardwalk, a pedestrian bridge, and installing a handicap-accessible trail with an ADA-compliant picnic table and picnic benches along the way. This trail ties into the larger regional trail access system in the area.
And that's one of the reasons I got into this business, is because I love being outdoors. I enjoy all aspects of the Coulee region, and I want to see the heritage here protected for future generations.
Since the 1970s, this facility has always operated with a regional mindset. Over the years, we have endeavored to be as innovative and creative as possible with the materials that come into the facility, continuously looking for new and better reuse for those items. As we move into the future, we look forward to continuing to serve municipalities and businesses in the La Crosse area and surrounding region. On behalf of the La Crosse County Solid Waste Department, we thank you for your continued support.
That is one beautiful landfill.
I was so impressed with it. I thought everybody in the public should see this if they can.
A nice video.
I didn't realize that they, those household hazard things, stuff we collect, and that they're letting them to be used again. I didn't know that.
Yes, they do. It's been going on for years. You can go get any color paint you want.
Right. Or a half bottle of household chemical or whatever.
Yep.
So then we could collect it again.
That's right.
So it's 15 minutes until 10 o'clock in the closed session. You want to get the consent agenda out of the way?
Yes.
Move ahead.
There is a change to the consent agenda.
All right.
Is is Tess on?
Here,
Is number 4 still on, or?
number 4 is being deleted, pulled.
Number 3, I was wondering if we could put on action item or pulled or whatever, just to discuss.
Okay.
All right. So on the consent agenda then is the approval of the recycling contracts with Houston County, reassigning Kelly Peterson from assessor tech clerk 1 to probationary appraiser trainee. 3 is moved, 4 is off, 5 is accept the retirement of Deb Hartley, 6 is approve initiating the competitive search for a collections officer, 7, change the employment status of Helen Olson from probationary to regular, and changing Patty Getzinger Crowell's jail dispatcher from probationary to regular. Any questions with regard to that?
With that, I make a motion, we approve this consent agenda.
Okay.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Just want to thank Deb Hartley for her 17 years of service to the Houston County.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
We stood at 13 minutes. Since we moved number 3, you want to do that right now? That competitive search for tech clerk 1.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with filling that position. I was just wondering if there's any way, and I brought this up with Tess before, about combining that with the 14-hour-a-week part-time person in zoning.
So what are we doing about Kelly Peterson? Is somebody taking her spot at the reception desk, or is that going to be an open spot, or
Oh,
are we
that's
going to hire somebody for that?
That's what we're talking about.
Okay. See why they couldn't do both jobs.
Well, commissioners, I think that should be, we can look at that, and because of the content of the jobs needs to be, we can analyze that, and I would work with the 2 department heads and see if that's feasible. It's easy to say that we can just collapse them, but I think we have to look at the details of the job, the number of hours a week each job actually requires, and the types of training each job requires. But we're certainly willing to take a look at that, and I'd sit down with both the assessor as well as the environmental services director and talk about the feasibility of doing that. I'm happy to do that.
Was Kelly's position full-time as a clerk?
It was full-time, and that position does a lot of the support work. In fact, that's what reception and directing calls is, from my understanding, a small part of it. It does a lot of support work for the appraisers and the assessor, freeing them up and allowing them to do the more of the certified work that is required of their positions rather than doing the support work for that. But we're always happy to take back and look at possibilities and see what's feasible. We certainly can do that and come back at the next meeting if that's your preference. But like I said, I just hesitate to say automatically, yeah, you can throw this position into that position, because one can easily create more challenges and issues of rework or missed deadlines, et cetera. So I really want to make sure that the department heads feel that's something that is feasible, at least in the short term, feasible.
No, I understand that. I just wanted to take a closer look at that
We're always happy to do that. Efficiency and level of service is always the goal. If we can create a more effective model, we're happy to look at that and see what we can do.
Could we possibly hire one full-time person that would do 14 hours in zoning and 26 hours in the assessor's office?
Commissioner, that's what I understand we're talking about.
Okay, that's what I was, okay.
I don't, like I said, I'm not, that discussion hasn't been had between the department heads and myself, so I think we can do that and see
Okay,
what's feasible or what they are, think they're able to support.
okay,
Because they know better than I as to the daily detail of the work that has to be accomplished in their
Oh, that-
timeframes.
Yep, that's right. That's fine.
Let's bring it
I
back.
will meet with them right away.
Come back to next week's meeting.
Is next week a,
Yes, it is.
happy to do so. Yes, we will.
Okay. Alrighty. So that takes care of that. Oh, we got 8 minutes by my clock, so I assume that Attorney Squires isn't on until 10 o'clock, right, Allison?
I'm not seeing him as of yet.
So in the action blocks, is Brian still with us? Yep. Consider awarding the low bid for SAP 2830-007 to Dunn Blacktop, $2,212,728.10.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, so in 2021, we plan on repaving County 8, 11, and 33. 11 and 33 would be the exact same, well, very near the exact same section as what we have currently paved. We're going to actually extend the pavement on 11 by a few hundred feet to have the pavement end after it gets by a house instead of just prior to that house. On County 8, we want to pave all the way down to the county line instead of having to bring our motor grader out to blade a quarter-mile of roadway once we get down beyond the Riseford Bridge area. So makes more sense for long-term maintenance. The low bid came in from Dunn Blacktop. It was the only bidder we got on it, $2,212,728. The estimate was $2,214,023.20. So 0.06% under the estimate, so pretty much right on the estimate. So my recommendation today would be to approve the contract for Dunn and get this project started.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes,
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
yes.
District 5.
Yep.
One question, Brian, on the that new type of chip seal, how's that holding up down by Freeburg?
So far, it's holding up really good. It's noisy. It's the surface isn't as smooth as a typical chip seal, so it's loud. That'll get better once we have it in place a little bit longer. The real test will be these next month and a half as the frost comes out. So at this point, it's looking really good.
Good.
Is there one more coat to go on there?
What was that?
Is there another coat to go on that seal coating or not?
Yeah, so we plan on doing a chip seal with FA3 stone this summer. So that'll be the largest size of rock we use on chip seals, but it's still smaller than what's out there now. So that should right there would help quiet down a little bit. And then I know that there's some discussion earlier as far as road bands. Road bands are going on at 12:01 a.m. on Thursday morning. So our signs will be going up first thing as soon as we get to work on Thursday.
Okay. Thank you. Eric, your sample resolution.
Yes, has everybody had a chance to read that and look that over?
Yes.
I liked it.
Makes sense. I think we should do it.
So moved.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the resolution as presented in our packet. Further discussion?
I just want to make it clear that we'll send this to the governor, our two legislatures. We could send it to the AMC, Julie Ring. And I'm also going to look into sending it to the comment period of MPCA. I'm not quite sure on that. I got to talk to Brian Martinson about that. But I don't know, is there anybody else you think we need to send this to? But I think it's really important that there's been other counties that have recently done this too. I know Nobles County, Hubbard County, that have just signed this too. And it's the biggest issue is that this should be done through the legislative process instead of through MPCA rulemaking.
Mhm.
And because this is going to affect every citizen and business in Minnesota, and that's the biggest concern. So
That's
if anybody else has any other ideas of who we want to send this to, please feel free to speak up.
I think you let the public be aware of it too.
Right. And I hope Craig can get a copy of it to put it in the paper and say, speak a little bit about it. If he wants to call me and talk to me about it, that's fine too. But
There's a copy in the packet too.
yep.
So we got a motion and a second. We should vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Looking at my screen that Mr. Squires is with us. So we would entertain a motion to go to recess the regular meeting and go into closed session with regard to attorney-client privilege.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to recess the regular meeting and go into closed session with regard to attorney-client privilege, Minnesota Statute 13D.05, Subdivision 3. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Okay. Attorney Squires.
Yes, members of the board, this matter relates to the Krukow versus Houston County lawsuit. I've been assigned to represent the county by the Minnesota Counties Intergovernmental Trust. The lawsuit is venued in District Court, Court File 28-CV-19-989. What you have before you is a settlement agreement that would resolve all the claims and result in dismissal of the lawsuit. We have discussed, and the board has had an opportunity to ask questions of me about the settlement and the settlement terms in closed session. The one proviso I wanted to point out is in paragraph 2 of the agreement that you have in front of you. It would read that Krukow may, as a non-conforming right, end the compromise of a disputed claim, continue to engage in certain mining activities identified in that agreement. So the action item for the board is to approve the agreement in front of you as I just qualified it slightly with language, and to authorize and direct the board chair to execute the agreement, and the board clerk as well.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the the document provided by Attorney Squires with regard to the lawsuit. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Squires. You have a good day.
You too.
Aaron, could you resend that settlement agreement to me?
Certainly.
Was there a motion made and seconded to come back to regular session?
Yes,
At
there was.
10:16.
Okay, and who made those?
Greg made the motion. Teresa seconded. It was unanimous.
Perfect, thank you.
Moving on, back to action items. Action item number 3 is the consideration of the conditional use permit from the Planning Commission. It goes to Aaron.
Morning, Commissioners. For your consideration, I bring you a recommendation to approve a conditional use permit for a cabin in the agricultural district made by Blaine Benzig. Your board packets contain information on the staff analysis and the application packets that Mr. Benzig submitted. A summary of his proposal would be that he is looking to construct a small primitive cabin on land in the southern part of the county, adjacent to a lot of state land. Things of note from his hearing are that Mr. Benzing had volunteered with the County Historical Society to do some work on the log cabin on the county fairgrounds, and is proposing to build a log cabin much in the same style as the one that currently sits on the county fairgrounds. Also in your board packets were the findings and conditions approved by the Planning Commission for your consideration. Any questions on the application?
Just one with regard to the right-of-way. Is that old right-of-way still intact? I mean, do we still have that right-of-way even though the road is in a different spot?
We
Yep.
believe so. Yes, the county surveyor looked at it and believed that it still would be intact. However, the proposed location of the cabin would be outside of the old right-of-way as well as the new right-of-way.
But if that's situation like that, I guess that's a question for Brian, if we should abandon that right-of-way since it's no longer in use.
And the owner is aware of that issue as well, so he may pursue having it vacated if that's what he wishes to do as well.
That's up to the owner to bring that forward, correct?
If you're asking me, I guess I'm not sure how that process goes, but he is aware of it, so he could certainly do that.
Well, that's how it was done before with that other one we did here for Berchters. They brought it forward to get it taken out. I'm just assuming that's how it's supposed to be done, but
Okay. We'll talk to Brian about that.
Affects building permit, I don't think, does it?
No.
Any objection from neighbors there, Aaron?
No, there are a handful of houses nearby. Give me one moment and I can tell you the comments that we received from the public on this application.
I guess if it's not a big uproar, everything else looked good from what I read. It was just, I couldn't find any negative things on it.
We've got comments from MnDOT. They didn't have any concerns. And then we had comments from the county highway, and that was before we had done the research to determine where that old right-of-way was. So the initial concern was that it may still be on land that's right-of-way, but as I said, that was determined not to be the case. Beyond that, no other comments were received, no.
Good.
And the driveway in there, there's an easement with the DNR, correct, Aaron? Or he's gonna have an easement on that or something?
He indicated during his hearing that they didn't find that one already exists, but he's in talks with them about perhaps putting one in there, but it in no way affects his cabin application.
Does he got to give them an easement?
I don't know if he's obligated to or not. It sounded like he's perhaps entertaining that option.
Well, I hope he don't. He'll have a lot of troubles with that state land. There's a lot of people who run that road and hunt, and he'll have missing equipment all the time. That poor guy will.
Is there a motion to approve the application?
And if I could quickly interject, I would recommend any motion include adopting the findings made by the Planning Commission. And then additionally, the Planning Commission recommended one condition, the same condition that you're accustomed to hearing, that the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. So the recommendation from the Planning Commission comes with approved findings that the board could choose to adopt, and with one condition.
So moved.
I'll second it.
So the motion is made and seconded to approve the application along with accepting the findings of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the one condition. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Action item number 4 is the settlement agreement for the Schutz Quarry. We already acted on that when Mr. Squires was with us. So that brings us to discussion items.
Is Aaron still on?
Yep.
Aaron, I have a question for you about the procedure to go about changing an ordinance has to be started through the Planning Commission, correct?
My understanding, yeah.
Now, one that's been tossed around quite a bit lately and talked about is the changing of the setback rule of 50 feet to 10 feet. And I know it was brought up at the Planning Commission meeting about, but there were some feelings that we needed to change or update the comprehensive land use plan first. And I can understand that a little bit, but as far as from something as simple as the setback rule, I don't know where the comprehensive land use plan really wasn't be. I mean, we change ordinances all the time without changing the land use plan. So
That's correct.
I could see where if you wanted to change it 2 houses per 40, that would something you'd want to have to do in conjunction with the land use plan. But a simple setback change, that should be a fairly simple and easy procedure and to collect. I mean, I'm just looking at this from my point of view is that would change, that would fix a lot of the problems that we're running into, because
Right.
at your last Board of Adjustment meeting, you had a couple there that bought a building site, and there was an old building that was on that site that was too close to the property line. And it was, if we could just change that, I would think that would clear up a lot of headaches.
I agree with you. Yes, that's for sure, because our neighbors had the same problem to put up that solar panel because their building was too close to our land.
So what I'm asking is, Aaron, can you start that procedure or get the findings together or reasons for it? And get this going in the Planning Commission, and talk with the chairman, Ed Hamel, about it.
Yeah, we could look at it, I guess. What the source of so right now we're talking ag district, right? And the 50-foot setbacks are on all property lines.
Yep.
So in terms of what we're looking at changing to, where is that something that you feel like Ed and other folks on the Planning Commission would weigh in on, and they would arrive at a what they feel is the appropriate distance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then if I recall, there was talk at some point in the past about, having a different setback standard depending on whether or not a survey had been done. I guess just for some general direction, is that how do members on the board feel? Should there be two separate standards if the line is accurately known, or if the line is, described by a meets and bounds description that's perhaps not as accurate, or would it all be the same in your views?
Well, it should probably be all the same because you don't know, well, let's see, how can you put that?
Well, that's something that you guys could discuss as a planning commission.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I could talk with Ed about it. The ordinance updates do take some time. Lots of different sections of the ordinance tie in together, so everything has to work kind of as a whole document. But I could begin the work of having those members propose and work on language to be considered at a future date.
That'd be good.
That's what you're asking me to do?
Yes.
Because I think I'm right. I think most cities are 10 feet. I'm not sure. Caledonia, is that 10 feet, Bob?
Yes.
And Knightson, I know, is 10 feet. I'm not sure about the other cities, but.
No, we're talking residential district only.
Yep.
Correct.
There's a difference. You go industrial, there's a difference. But on a residential setback, it's 10 feet.
And we're talking for the eggs at egg district.
Yeah.
Not industrial, egg.
Right.
Is it the board's intention to bound that to just ag? Our residential districts out in the country, the residential districts still, they are 15 foot on the side, 50 foot in the rear. Is that something you would like to look at as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a correction, it's 10 foot on the sides in the city. I believe it's 25 foot backyard setback and 30 foot front yard setback.
Okay, well, I will initiate some conversations with the planning commission.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. So moving forward, commissioner reports and comments.
Suppose I have to start, huh?
Ladies first.
Well, I did have a negotiation meetings last week, but the main meeting I had last week was a state extension meeting. And we're going to be receiving our memorandum of approval for the next 3-year contract. And after much discussion and planning, they're going to go with a 0% increase for 21, 2.5 for 22, and 2.5 for 23. They also lowered the wage grid for the educators, which was recommended originally at 96,000 down to 85,000, just to make it a little more equitable around the whole state. Also,
what about the 4-H coordinators?
That was already low. I don't have the table in front of me.
Okay.
Also, the intern position, if we do go with an intern, we have the option of going with an intern at $15 an hour. And that we can discuss if we get any applications, whether we're going to do that. Also, they brought up that the county fairs are planning to be open this year. And the governor made a statement that he is planning at this time to have a state fair, depending on, of course, the latest update on them. But all fairs should be open in 21, which I thought was really good. They'll probably have restrictions, but at least there'll be something going on. Also, we had the 4-H group of the year, and that was a group from Lake County that made 47 tie blankets. I don't know if you all know what that is, those fleece blankets for all the pediatric people at the hospitals in Lake County. and ambulance drivers and stuff like that. They won the award. And then I did hear from Sue Schwabach, and she is turning the corner, she said. She's been working from home, and she hopes next week to come in part-time here and there in between treatments. So that was good news, I thought. And she
Yes, that's very good news.
she said I could share it with the board. So
That's good.
that's all I have.
I know the office with Sue gone has been really swamped, and
She said they're doing a marvelous job, though.
yes, they are. Yep. And so, yeah, kudos to them for keeping her going.
Yeah.
Right? Dewey, what do you got?
Well, I had a communication meeting here yesterday, still trying to do strategy planning for updating or keeping on task with the communication. I'm going to get together with Mark Olson and Sheriff Inglet to share this, and I'm sure Deputy Olson has got some contacts, but that's about the most of what I had. And went to city council meeting last week, and they're looking forward to having the assessor or appraiser come down and talk to the people.
Yay. That's good news from La Crescent.
All we gotta do is get some vaccine over there.
What do you got, Eric?
Well, I was in negotiation meetings last week too, and had a highway meeting on Friday, and I think I sent this off to you guys this morning for you guys to review and see what we talked about. So hopefully this month they'll get started on something. I did bring up about whether or not we wanted to do an official groundbreaking ceremony or not, because I know Teresa brought that up, and I don't know. I brought that up, and they said they would do something like that if you guys were persistent on that. But what is your guys' thoughts? If you think we should do that, or should we wait until it's done and have a open house or whatever? But
I prefer the open house idea.
I do grand opening.
To this point.
We'll go along with the open house.
Okay, I agree. I just think we need to do something to show that we're finally accomplishing it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yep, and
It's a good idea.
he said how we're 6 feet apart with all those shovels, and you'd have to have like 3 pictures or whatever, So, so yeah,
Okay.
I think that's fine, and I'll relay that on.
Okay, thank you.
As far as that, I don't have anything else. I don't believe.
Greg,
Well, I just had a highway meeting with Eric. He pretty much covered that. I got a SEMCAC meeting on Monday night. So outside of that, I don't have much to say, I guess.
from my perspective, my report, I had a Hiawatha Valley Medical Health Center meeting last night. Well, there's a lot of irons in the fire as far as what they've got going on, and expansion, and COVID has really kind of messed things up for them a little bit. They're opening up to a certain degree as far as group meetings. Right now, individual meetings, they can go and have meetings with their clientele. And if they meet, they have to, as an example, in their car, the driver has to sit in the driver's seat, and the passenger, or the person they're meeting, has to sit in the back seat on the other side to try and maintain distance. It was kind of a chuckle, but they have a lot of things going on. Their budget's in pretty good shape, but they're dealing with quite a few issues as far as renovations of buildings in order to maintain their social distancing. One thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if anybody goes and looks at the jail population very often. I looked at that the other day, and there was only 8 people in the jail, none of them from Houston County, all from other agencies.
Yeah.
So When Winona County builds their jail, I don't know what we're gonna do as far as this jail.
Well, that's something we need to discuss about, you know, because our contract with Winona County is going to come to an end here. And that's going to be a couple $100,000 in revenue that we're going to lose. So I think we need to be prepared and find a way to, you know, come up with a plan of what are we going to do here? Are we going to, you know?
That's why I wanted to bring it up because it's something we're going to need to talk about.
Yep, definitely.
We got an awful big bed and breakfast.
ERBO.
And I know there's been talk about the juvenile route, but stuff I've been reading with AMC and stuff, that's not as easy as it looks. And they're trying to, for whatever reason, get away from that model. I don't know. This whole policing and juvenile situation is changing day by day here. So
But it goes to what you said, Eric. We've got, what is it? Contract is through next year, right?
Yep.
So.
Well, I think it's just this year, a 1-year contract, I believe.
Okay.
Carol, is that right? I don't know.
You know, I'm thinking so, but I'd have to pull it up just to be sure.
Yeah,
I think they just wanted to do a 1 year.
Yep, I believe, and that's just for 21 here. So,
right.
I think we need to have a conversation with the sheriff and come up with a plan. I have talked to the sheriff about it a while ago and brought it to his attention, and he knew about it too, and he said he's thinking about it too. So
I've talked to him too. Well, I think the committee will have to come up with something. I got a CJCC meeting coming up pretty quick, so I'll see if they've got any input as far as the courts are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Is it a definite on Winona? Or they are going to build, or are they not decided?
oh yeah, yep, no, they're gonna.
They're going to.
I don't know. Have they decided exactly what they're going to build, or is that still kind of up in the air?
No, they went. They was a 3-2 vote that they went to the I think it was the 96 bed, I believe. They were talking about going to the smaller facility, but I think they went with the little bit larger one.
Okay. Well, in all likelihood, they won't have that done by the end of 21, so we might have another contract year.
Right. They might. We might. Yep.
And have to be ready.
And just to be aware too, Fillmore County's in talks on a new jail too. So, I've talked to Mitch and Dwayne about it, encouraged them to consider us for an alternative, but that's up to them. But
Getting some
We're going to have a lot of jails and more criminals.
We could have them, you know, there's all kinds of things you can talk about. If you have one jail that's for females and one that's for males, and you cross-reference back and forth.
Right, and a lot of it is the transportation that they worry about is transporting in. But with video sentencing, you know, you can do a lot. You wouldn't have to do as much transporting as you might think. So, but
Are they doing juveniles, Winona?
no,
No?
there was talk about it. I see they had a discussion on it, but nothing official. They're finding out too. It's not easy.
They're kind of a special case, so. Okay. Well, I just wanted to bring that up as far as.
Yep. No, it's something we really got to plan ahead for here.
Okay.
So.
No.
Nothing else from me. Anybody else? Otherwise, public comment too. But I don't see where Ted is on.
I think Ted just, if he's not on, I think in his letter he explained himself pretty well.
Yeah.
And we do. I just want him to know, as well as the other public, we do take everybody's concerns on taxes and spending very seriously. I think we try to do the best job we can and look for savings when we can. So I know there's frustration at times, but I have a feeling that as a board, I think we try to do the best job we can and try to find savings when we can.
Absolutely.
Yep.
The plan.
There's nothing else. We'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
A second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
All right.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, hey.